Hi, my name is Claire Dupre. I'm the owner of Dupre Academy of Music, and this is a question I've gotten from a lot of parents who have contacted us interested in getting their kid into music lessons. Now, we usually start at ages 5, but we've had a few parents with kids who are aged 4, and they're not sure if are they more advanced, could they start now, or do they need to wait, or if they're 5, are they actually ready? So, hopefully, this video will kind of help answer some of those questions to know if your child is ready for music lessons. So, here are some things to look for. First is curiosity about music. That is a huge one. If the kid's already showing some interest. So, if the kid naturally sings, taps rhythms, dances to songs, that might be an indication of some curiosity. They might try to play sounds on anything piano keys, toy instruments, tablet apps. My brother was a drummer. You can imagine how difficult that was to grow up with. They can also recognize melodies or hum them later. If you notice they're singing these like right on pitch, that shows listening, skills developing. They might have some higher aptitude. That might help them be interested there. Next is you want to check for some basic focus and listening skills. So, this is going to be very important if you do one on one lessons. It requires lots of focus, not a crazy amount, especially if you're younger, you do the shorter lessons. But it does require some focus that some children just don't have just yet. They might need to wait a little bit. So, can they follow one or two step directions, such as clap twice, then stop? Can they focus on a short task for 5 to 10 minutes with some gentle guidance? They don't have to be fully on task that whole time, but just some gentle guidance here and there. Can they take turns or wait a few seconds without frustration? Lessons are going to often involve waiting and listening, so you don't want them to be so impatient, like have to get on to the next thing immediately. If that's the case, they have that lack of attention span or can't really wait as much yet. That is an indication that they might do better in a group setting, a classroom setting instead. This next one, fine motor and gross motor readiness. So, can they hold a pencil or a crayon comfortably? This is going to be very important for piano, violin, guitar, anything that uses your hands. For singing, that's going to be something different, but for playing actually instruments and manipulating the mechanisms of the instrument, that's going to be important. Can they coordinate both hands for simple tasks? Can they tie shoes with both hands? Can they stack blocks? Just can they coordinate together? Or is it just hard to even grasp things consistently? Next, this can help you with your child at home. Before you even begin lessons, do some rhythmic and movement games at home. You can find a crazy amount on YouTube from different music teachers, and this will strengthen them even before lessons begin. Now, this is another one. You could have a student who is intellectually way off the charts, very highly intelligent, able to pick up concepts really quickly, but are they emotionally and socially ready? So, number one, they need to be comfortable being gently corrected or guided. All of our teachers here at Dupre Academy of Music are very patient, very gentle, very kind, and very good at helping students feel comfortable. But sometimes students are just too young to really get that sort of instruction. They need they need mom or dad to be the one to do most of that instead of a one-on-one teacher. Or a classroom teacher sometimes has that little barrier, which makes it a little more easy for them to follow those directions. Do they respond well to encouragement and redirection? Especially that redirection. Encouragement, most kids respond really well to encouragement, but the redirection part can be a little tricky here and there. And can they be separate from the parent for short periods without distress? I've known one of my siblings had severe separation anxiety when he was very small. And so now, so when he would like go to school or go to like the nursery at church, it was a struggle for him. And so it would have taken him a little bit longer to be ready for these sorts of things. And now, going along with that, parental support matters more than age. So we do encourage parents to be in the classroom listening to what's going on so that when the student goes home, this parent can then reinforce what they learned in the lesson. Now, a 4-year-old with a very supportive parent may thrive more than a 7-year-old left to practice alone. So, if you're going to pay a lot of money to get your kids this luxury service of private lessons, be involved with your student. Let the teacher teach during the lesson, and then at home, reinforce what they learned after the lesson. Especially during that first year. Parental involvement during that first year is very important. So, reminding the student to practice, setting a set schedule for them to practice. Again, sitting in on the lesson just so they know what's going on and what the kid needs to practice at home. And then, of course, celebrating wins. If you think this kid sounds great with what they're doing, tell them, get them excited. That's going to be key. Now, here's some ideal starting ages. These are general guidelines. They're not actual rules. So there are exceptions. Some kids can start earlier, some kids need to start a little bit later, and that's totally fine. Every kid is different, every kid develops at different rates. So for piano or even violin, and that's a whole nother thing to get into, but 5 to 7 years old is about pretty common for students to start. Sometimes you can get younger for piano or general music if you're in a group setting or if you're just okay with the teacher doing musical play with the student, which is very beneficial for students. Or you can do musical play with the student before they're ready. Now, for voice, around 7 to 8 usually for formal lessons. Younger kids can explore singing and rhythm play and choirs, little group classes and such. Um, but usually when you want to get to serious lessons, probably 7 or 8 would be a good guideline to start. Of course, every kid's different. And then other instruments has a lot more things to depend on. So things like guitar, that is a little different from violin with pressing down on the strings. It's really difficult to press down on those strings if your fingers are not fully developed yet or not quite there. Violin's a little bit easier, and that's a whole nother topic on violin being that for the kids that young. For brass and woodwind instruments, that requires good lip strength and breath support and control, which usually you want to wait a little bit later for kiddos to start. And sometimes they don't even have instruments that fit the hands. Sometimes they do, but they're not as common. You can start with piano is usually my recommended starting point, especially if they want to learn like flute later on or clarinet or whatever. And there's a reason why band in schools doesn't really start until 4th or 5th grade, sometimes even 6th grade. Now, if you're still not sure if your kid's ready, you can ask an expert. So most studios are going to offer discounted trial lessons, including us. We offer a 20-minute lesson that students can sign up for and test out if they work with the teacher well. When you're with a music school, you can test out multiple teachers to see which one clicks with your student the most. And that teacher can then gently test attention, motor skills, interest through fun musical games, especially if they're really little. And then that teacher will be able to tell, okay, is this kid ready or do we need to wait maybe a year or so? And again, this is about discovering if this is a joyful fit right now. It's not about passing or failing. If the teacher says, oh, I just don't think they're quite ready yet, that is nothing to be ashamed of. That's not a problem at all. It just means different kiddos are ready for different things at different points in time. And so don't feel disappointed if you have a 4-year-old who's very precocious in many ways, but just can't quite pay attention long enough or doesn't have quite the fine motor skills for it. Totally okay. Every kid develops differently. Even if your kid is 5 or 6 and is having trouble with one of the things that I mentioned, also okay. Everyone is different. So if you would like to see if your student is ready for lessons, but you're not 100% sure, you can actually sign up for a trial lesson at Dupre Academy of Music. We have many teachers who are willing and eager to see if your child is ready. And if you have any other questions, you are more than welcome to send a message through the website or through Facebook, and we'd be more than happy to get back to you. Have a wonderful day and happy music making.